Hi, my name is Aaron Hoff with Trinity River Authority. Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about pet waste and what you can do at your house to make sure that your yard is nice and safe and clean for anybody walking about in the back. If you've had pets for any long amount of time, you know that that waste that they make can accumulate. And if you have other children running around in the backyard, they can step on those landmines and track that stuff inside. And if you've got enough kids out there, then you know that disease transmission may also be a concern that you may have as a parent. If left out there for a long enough time, you can actually have transport of the bacteria in that pet waste carried away by rainwater to nearby creeks and rivers and lakes that can affect the water quality there. In some cases, that means you have to pick it up and throw it in your trash can. So today we're going to talk about an alternative to that to make sure that your house and your garage stay nice and clean and they don't stink. And this is something to be convenient for any homeowner to do on their own, either do it yourself, like we'll talk about here, or with prefabricated products. So the method we'll be sharing with you today is called a pet waste digester or a pet waste composter. And these apparatuses allow for convenient pickup and disposal of pet waste whenever you want, right there in your own backyard. If properly installed and maintained, you should have no odor issues coming from the apparatus, and over the long run you should see fewer flies and other pests that feed on pet waste in your backyard. In addition, this keeps pet waste out of our waterways and off of your shoes, and in the process recycles nutrients back into the soil of your yard, keeping it healthy. So when we're thinking about materials for this particular project, you want to think about the number of dogs that you have in your backyard and the size of those dogs. So if you have 2 to 3 smaller dogs or potentially 1 larger dog, then a 5-gallon bucket should be all you need to handle the waste from those animals. You can see here that you'll need a lid for either apparatus, and for the 5-gallon bucket you can actually get a spin top lid to fit on there to make disposal even easier. If, however, you do have 1 or 2 larger dogs, or even more beyond that, you may want to consider going up to a larger size of can. In this case, we have a 20-gallon version right here. There are 33 and 40 and 50-gallon varieties as well if you think you're going to need larger, but that's going to come up to your personal preference. So when we talk about the construction of these, the first thing we're going to do is, you'll see here on both options I have drilled a series of holes, and I just use a basic 1/4 inch bit for that on my drill. And the placement of these holes really doesn't matter. You can get creative as you want or as simple as you want. We did a series of 6 and 5 offset holes here, but this is going to be buried anyway, so you won't see those, so it does not really matter all that much. The one thing you will want to do is, once you get your can or your bucket, you'll take a Sawzall or a jigsaw or some other handsaw and saw out the bottom. So when thinking about site selection for your pet waste digester, try to place it at a high elevation in a low traffic corner of the yard, away from foot traffic if possible. Next, we will need to dig the hole in which to place the pet waste digester. Typically digging down to 48 inches is sufficient, even for heavily compacted urban soils. Then you'll need to backfill the hole with rock aggregate. You should leave enough room to allow at least 2 inches of the container sticking out of the ground so that you can access the lid. You will then backfill around the container and lightly pack the soil just above ground level to account for a little bit of settling once the construction is complete. Once your pet waste digester is installed, consider using a marker around the unit, or at least isolating the digester to reduce tripping hazards from people walking around in the yard. Now that your pet waste digester is installed in your backyard, you can now pick up pet waste whenever it's convenient for you. One takeaway that I would tell everyone is, you don't want to put this in your garden, nor do you want to put the pet waste composter itself in the garden. The reason for that is, pet waste does have a lot of other pathogenic organisms in it that can get people sick. So that's why we're putting it in the ground. We're definitely not going to be taking that stuff back up out of the ground. It's going to stay down there. It's going to break down in the soil. You should treat your pet waste digester like a septic system, dosing the system with septic starter and water as needed. The amount of dosing will depend on the size of the container you used and the soil types present in your backyard. Be sure to check your system frequently to make sure that microbial decomposition is occurring.